Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the fall 2020 semester. Probably the most unusual welcome we've ever had, any of us have ever experienced, but still, it's a new year. We have new students, new experiences, and I hope we're kicking off what, regardless of the situation, will be a great academic year, and I look forward to all the good things that will come this year. Before we get too far into our program, our fantastic Marcom department has put together a year in review. So let's take a look at that.
It gives me great pleasure to be able to celebrate our graduates for this academic year.
I have all the confidence in you, and I wish you the very best. Congratulations.
Go out and do good things. We are so very proud of you.
Thank you for that beautiful video. That was great. And even though it was, like we said, a kind of shortened year, obviously we did a lot of great things. So wonderful year, and I know that we're going to have another great year.
I'm going to move this over.
I now have the opportunity to present the new hires or changes in status, first beginning with the Academic Affairs Division. Sierra Cable, Web Developer, Marcom. Gina Chase, Interim Director of Career and Academic Services. Russell Dunham, Clinical Instructional Specialist, Rad Tech. Heather Hoffman, Assistant Professor, Physical Education and Sports Studies Department. Continuing with the Academic Affairs Division, Fola Kaladi, Professor in the Nursing Department. Renee Kovac, Secretary for the Hospitality Programs. Howard Strebe, Senior Network Telecommunications Specialist, Information Technology Services. Uttara Roy, Assistant Professor, Engineering Technologies Department. And in the Student Development Division, Shelley Cordisco, Interim Associate Vice President of Student Development and Dean of Students. Also, we have several retirees. Sandra Alter Ballard, Physical Education and Sports Studies Department after 8 years of service. John Bunnell from the Business Department, 51 years of service. Thomas Crandall, Psychology and Human Services Department, also 51 years of service. Joseph D'Angelo, Engineering Technologies Department, 9 years of service. Richard Frenzy, Biology Department, 50 years of service. Paula Gannett, Computer Science Department, 37 years of service. Additional retirees, Barbara Kaiser from the Finance Office, 13 years of service. Shelley Lewis Stanley, Mathematics Department, 13 years of service. Christopher Origer, English Department, 27 years of service. Charles Petrolowitz, Business Department, 11 years of service. Maria Rusa, Rad Tech, 16 years of service. And Leslie Scalzo, Business and Professional Studies, 19 years of service. I also had great honor to announce the SUNY Chancellor's Award recipients. For excellence in adjunct teaching, Carol A. Stanley from the Dental Hygiene Department. Excellence in Professional Service, Laura Hodel, Financial Aid Department. Excellence in Teaching, Megan McGinnis, Dental Hygiene Department. Phyllis O'Donnell, Biology Department. Congratulations to all the SUNY Chancellor's Award recipients. We also have Student Excellence Award recipients, Abigail Bennett, Brittany Bernard, and Michelle Smetana. And our 2020 Spirit Award winner goes to Leslie Scalzo from the Business and Professional Studies Department. Also gives me pleasure to announce the tenured faculty this year. Maureen Breck from Academic Affairs, John Covert, Learning Assistance Department, Diana LaBelle, Engineering Technologies Department, Stephanie Malmberg, Liberal Arts, Elizabeth McGrath, Mathematics Department, David Mahalik, Academic Advising, Sharla Ramnarine Singh, Academic Advising, James Shearing, Criminal Justice and Emergency Services, Virginia Shirley, English Department, Sarah Stevenson, Biology Department. And last but not least, Edward Yetzko from the Business Department. Congratulations to all our tenured faculty. And now we also lost some colleagues during the last year. In memoriam, we have Eric Beamish, Institutional Research and Planning, Glenda Blake, Publications, Marlene Flamick, Secretary to the Vice President, Stephen Korduvacek, English Department, Josephine Moret, Secretary to the Vice President of Academic Affairs, and Joseph Wolfer from the English Department. And now it's my pleasure to turn it over to Dr. Kevin Drum to give the President's address.
Oh, I guess I unmute myself. I'm used to being controlled in these things by the organizer. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this strangest of about to be academic years. We're in a lot of great company with, I don't know, 4,500 colleges and universities across the country addressing the same challenges that we are. Some, of course, much deeper in this as a result of the density of residential students that they're having. If you've been following the national news and even a little bit of local news, you see what's going on around the country regarding the reopening of on-campus services for colleges and universities everywhere. We're fortunate here in New York and the Northeast that we're a relatively healthy region amidst this mess that we're all in. So that's something we can all be thankful for, especially here in New York, which has done so well once we got over that terrible hump at the beginning of this now seemingly endless roller coaster ride. All those pictures in the video seemed eons ago, sadly. But we did have a lot going on last year in the old normal up until, I don't know, about March 5th or so, before we started scrambling to get out of here and go all distance on March 19th. And starting there and right up to today, I want to thank everyone for pitching in and for all of your help and support to get through this. We couldn't have done it without a huge team effort to scramble back in March and to get back to where we are today with students moving into the residence hall, beginning today and being tested as they do. That entire stretch and what's to come has been one giant team effort. I want to thank the leadership team, the department chairs included there for getting our schedule in place for our students for this fall, as challenging as that was. We appreciate your help and support in that more than we can say. And the challenges, I think, are only going to get more intense as students return to campus beginning today. Again, the public relations stress on all colleges and universities is going to be enormous all year long, in hopes to avoid what some universities did in their first week, and that is send students home. Now, they're in hot spots where that's happened, so it was far more likely that students would either spread or be the recipients of spread out in those communities, because those universities are opened in hot spots. We're not in a hot spot, so hopefully we can get through this with the current plan without having to throw the March 19th switch again. And to do it, once again, it's going to take an entire team effort. Not just the masks that you see there on the screen that we all must wear to protect ourselves and one another, but the social distancing, the maintenance the additional maintenance that's going to be required on now what will be a smaller maintenance staff. We'll have smaller staff across the board going into fall. So everybody's going to have to pitch in to help create a culture of safety. Safety's always been top of mind here. The most important thing, you can't get a good education if you don't feel safe. However, this year it is the paramount goal to keep everyone safe in the midst of the academic programs that we're working to deliver. Health and safety has to be our paramount concern, and we ask everyone to pitch in and help. We can't be calling the Dean of Students Office and public safety or campus safety all the time. Most people just need to be reminded. I think the big thing is a mask. I mean, I still occasionally get out of the car and forget my mask and have to turn around and go back to the car and get my mask. And it's generally what's needed is just a reminder. Hopefully we won't have to deal with anyone who refuses to socially distance and wear a mask inside and outside if you think you're going to be less than 6 feet from someone. So we all need to create a culture of safety amidst this pandemic, and can't rely on the officials to get it done. It just wouldn't be humanly possible. So far, so good. People have been cooperating. We haven't had any issues with opening student services. So we appreciate that, and we all have to be a part of building that new culture for the foreseeable future. As I've said in my updates, I expect we're going to be in this soup at least through this academic year, and certainly until we have better medicines or an effective vaccine, or hopefully multiple effective vaccines. Another initiative we've got to undertake here. I know we've had conversations, about it over the years, and we've done some things in the co-curriculum and touched on it in the curriculum, but we've got to find a way to join the crowds, across the country, but in a more formal way here. Through our curriculum, we can reach 15-20% of our students through the co-curriculum, those that have the time and the interest to get involved in the co-curriculum. But as you know, most of our students, and not even as many this year, come to class and go home, or to work, or to pick up their kids from childcare. Whatever else they have going on in their lives, our students, the community college students, lead the busiest lives in all of higher education. And many just can't get involved in the co-curriculum. We've got to find a way to do social justice and anti-racism across the curriculum. We've got to step up. This just what's going on, and just recently again in the last couple of days just cannot continue, and it's obvious as much as the nation has been doing to get I don't know if we'll ever get past racism, but to tamp it down much more than we've been able to do over the last few hundred years. We've got to be a strong player in that, and we've got to figure out ways to work on that, and we'll work with you to figure out ways to do social justice and anti-racism across the curriculum. That's the only way we're going to reach even close to a majority of our students. We don't have that large residential, highly involved university population where they have lots more time on their hands. For what otherwise would be normal business, we still have our Middle States visit coming up this spring. Like it or not, here we go again. We were in the midst of it. The self-study was submitted now 11 years ago, just actually a couple of weeks before I arrived as president on that odd time on February 1st, 2010. So the teams have been doing a great job. Can't thank Penny and Kim and others enough for their leadership in this, but it is part of the normal course of business that we have to get through successfully this coming spring. They did offer to push it to fall because of what's going on in the world today. We felt we were in plenty good enough shape that we should stay on schedule and have the visit in the spring, whether it will be an on-site visit. My guess is it would probably be a hybrid visit, but Middle States has not made the decision yet as to how they will actually do the visits in the spring, because they're not, we're not quite sure what the environment's going to be come spring. I would expect the chair to come visit us in person, sometime later this fall, and then. We'll figure it out from there when Middle States updates its policies regarding how visits in the spring will transpire. I know some of our sister institutions had virtual visits this past year. We may be in that boat where it's almost entirely a virtual visit. It may be hybrid. I rather doubt come spring that it would be a full traditional face-to-face visit. But we'll see what policies Middle States has in place by the time we get there. And I didn't want to take up a lot of our time this morning, because we're going to have the panel and the reopening of on-campus services and classes. Of course, is the big word of the day and challenge for the year. So I wanted to get to that sooner than later. And again, I thank you all for your perseverance and patience, as I have so many times. Not only all of us here at Broome, but every college and university in the nation, we're all simply going to have to do more than we have in the past. And for many colleges and universities, with less people to help us do it, to get through this academic year as safely as possible. I was looking at the list of colleges and universities and the number of cases as every case has to be reported to public health, so they're all public. It's 99.9% surety that we will have cases. There are a few in SUNY right now, a few in CUNY right now, not very many in community colleges across the country, but I think I saw 6 or 8 on the national list. I went through the entire list last night just to see what was going on across the country. And we've got the protocols in place with Broome County Public Health. I want to thank the university for helping us with the testing for our residential students, which begins today. We're using their same protocol and all of their equipment and testing supplies, and we appreciate that Binghamton University helping us out there. So with that, I'll wrap up, and we'll see you shortly on the reopening panel. Thank you very much again.
Thank you, Dr. Drum. I want to reiterate, I know that you all did so much work this summer, and particularly in changing to this whole remote environment. And I think the work that's been done is really, really fantastic. I know there's been push and pull, and we've been back and forth with changing courses up and all summer long. So I feel like probably that relaxing summer break really didn't happen for any of you as we had hoped it would. And I know that that's been a big challenge, but I'm very impressed with what the schedule looks like. I think that really you've done a great job in changing up the courses. It's a learning experience. I know we're going to be learning every single day, but I do think that, what I've seen has just been great in terms of the moving around of the schedule. And there's so many people to thank, and I often hesitate to do this because I'll forget people, but certainly the faculty and all of the support staff, the advisors have done a super job. Admissions, everyone's been in that. But I particularly want to thank the registrar's office and Marty, who had just constantly been getting schedule changes and making those changes and trying to figure out rooms. As you know, we can't have the normal classroom. So when we have a classroom of 20, it now has shrunk to a tiny size. And so moving things around and trying to get that all cleaned up has been quite a challenge. But again, everyone's really risen to the occasion, and I can't thank you enough. I think also what this whole collaboration has done is helped us to learn a lot about what our possibilities are in terms of online education and some of our remote services. And some of those have worked really, really well. I think some of these meetings actually have provided an opportunity to increase participation in some sense, although I think we probably all get very tired of staring into the computer all day in Zoom. But some of these meetings have sorry, I dropped lost my video. But some of those meetings I think have really been very effective in being able to increase the number of participants. So I think there's a lot that we're going to learn, and we have learned, and I look forward to following up on that. As far as where we are now, and I kind of just took a picture of just SUNY Broome and our entranceway, and just where are we now? Well, right now, we admittedly are in kind of survival mode with this new schedule and making sure that we get through the pandemic and that we keep everybody safe. So yes, there will be a lot of differences in what's going on, but as Dr. Drum said, we're right in the middle of our Middle States report and preparing for that visit. And there was an extensive amount of work that was done by everyone across the college, really, in terms of getting the information available for all of the standards. And this summer has been spent with our wonderful writers, Dr. McLean and Dr. Haggerty, writing up all of the information that you've given, trying to put it in one voice. And we're pretty close to having a draft that we can share with the community. Pretty close. It'll be a couple of weeks, but I think we're getting close to where we can share that initial draft, get your feedback, make sure we've represented what you've said and where we're at. But I look at Middle States, and I hope all of you do, is really, it's a learning opportunity. It's a time for improvement. And I think that we can have the team come and they can tell us all kinds of things, but I think we know as we talk through it and we work through it, here's areas where we need improvement. Here's areas where we're really good. And we want to show the team where we're really good. But I think we also know, and we generate some great discussions of where can we improve and what can we do better. So I think that we're going to see a really positive year in terms of looking at that And then my last slide really relates to what are we doing going forward? I know we're in this mode where, yes, we have to really, we have to get through this, and I understand that, and it's going to be very intense and a lot of work. But at the same time, we can't stop. We need to be forward thinking, and we need to look ahead to what is next. And I know Dr. Drum mentioned we have to address anti-racism. And I have informed all of my committees and all of my people and our SUNY CAO group, which I'm a part of, committed to supporting that, and we will support that. I know that that's a faculty-driven curriculum item, but I will absolutely stand behind that and support that, and we're going to work through that, whether that's an institutional outcome, whether it's a course that we think will really be able to be integrated. That's going to be the faculty's work, but I will work with you and support you, and we will make sure that we address that. We've got that in our goals for the academic affairs plan. We have asked all of the deans in their divisional meetings to have these conversations and to continue these conversations so that it's not just a matter of once and done, but to continue these conversations throughout the year and make sure that we address this. And we are committed to that. In addition, we're very committed to moving forward. We have all kinds of goals. We're going to be sharing them with you over the next couple of weeks. But those goals include really, again, examining our programs, seeing what we're missing, working with the community to make sure that we're addressing all of those needs and to make the college even stronger. We know that online has obviously been a huge issue, not an issue, I don't mean an issue in that way, but obviously online education is what's occurring right now, and how we can capitalize on that, how we can grow, how we can improve what we've learned, what we can do better, and eventually finding what that mix is for SUNY Broome and what works best for SUNY Broome. We haven't had much of a choice right now, but going forward in the future, I want to work with the Distance Learning Steering Committee and talk about what's next for SUNY Broome. I think these are all really important issues, and we've done a great job of getting to where we are now, and I look forward to continuing to grow on that and move forward and see what more we can do as we get through this year. I know we're going to have a good year. I know it's going to be different, but we're going to have a good year, and I look forward to working with all of you on that. So thank you again, and I wish you a very, very good semester. Next, it's my pleasure to bring up the shared governance team.
Thank you so much, Dr. Haynes. We really appreciate being able to speak at this event. And so I'd like to just remind everyone that shared governance for the fall 2020 semester will be virtual. Our chairs are working hard to make sure we're setting up those meetings through Zoom, and we're going to be sending all of our constituents that information. And our fearless leader, Penny Del Favreau, is also making sure to share that information on the website and in the focus as well, too. So for anyone who's looking to participate, make sure to keep an eye out for that. I'm really excited to introduce myself to everyone as the incoming College Assembly Chair, Maureen Brack, Staff Associate for Academic Affairs, and really looking forward to be able to take on this new role and capacity and work with everyone this fall semester. I'd like to turn it over to my colleague, Andrea Roma, to introduce herself.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Andrea Roma. I'm the Chair of Outreach. I will be the chair for the Council for Academic Issues this year. I would like to just do a quick shout out to Lee Heron, who will be our recording secretary, and Aaron Fry, who will be our corresponding secretary this year. So thank you so much. I will be sending out very soon to my own CAI members the meeting schedule and Zoom links via calendar invite, so look for those later this afternoon. I wanted to point out that if you wanted to get in touch with shared governance, or if you have an issue or concern, or just want to learn more about it and what the purpose of each body is, I highly encourage you to visit the Shared Governance website. It has our contact information as well as each members for each body. It highlights each of the purpose for the bodies, our missions, what our goals are. It also has past meeting minutes and agendas if you are curious as to what we have been working on since shared governance had come about. and I hope to work with all my CA members this year. Looking forward to it. And I wanted to pass it over to Brittany Richardson.
Hi, everyone. I'm Brittany Richardson. I'm a staff assistant in the admissions office, and I'm the incoming chair for the Council for Operational Issues. My little blurb to say is for all shared governance members, you should have already received an email about our virtual kickoff. That's this Friday, so tomorrow at 3 p.m. We're thinking 3 to 4. It's going to be via Zoom. You should have already received the email with the Zoom link, and then also received a calendar invite that includes the Zoom link. And if you haven't, please reach out to your respective chairs so that we can get that over to you. And I look forward to, being part of the shared governance team and working with COI for this year. I think that's it for us.
Thank you. And it's now my pleasure to bring up Dr. Carol Ross Scott.
Good morning, everybody. I don't know what has happened. Of course. Oh, let me start my video. I'm sorry. I was in one link and then something happened to my computer magically. It's great to be here this morning. Obviously, this has always been my favorite time of the year because today is move-in day for some of our residents. But I would like to just put out share a couple of notes with you. I would like to officially welcome the Counseling Services Department to the division. We're excited to have them as official family members for the division. They will be working through the Office of the Department of Campus Life under the leadership of Interim Dean and Shelley Cordisco, because we will be working on creating a wellness department of physical and mental wellness for the college. So look for that to be coming soon. As Dr. Drum mentioned, we have move-in today, and I would really, really like to thank Joe and the EMMO team, as well as Dr. Kim McLean, who really, those people have really pulled off something pretty miraculous to help Dr. Amy and the Residence Life program get ready to smoothly transition in the students. We will have 4 days of move-in. Students will be tested before they're allowed to go down to the village. Within the village, usually we have a whole team of people that are unpacking the cars. This year, we're only going to allow one person who will be screened to help the student move in. So we're really, really working on trying to make sure that our students come in and they're safe, the community is safe, the employees are safe. We will have virtual activities this year. We plan on having cross-country and esports, but there are other kinds of social distance activities that we want students to engage in. We'll still have the student leadership. I think it's critical this year that if you know a student leaders, please encourage them to engage. We will be focusing on civic engagement. We think that that's really important. It's always been important, but it's really important this year because of the elections and the impact of the elections. We will be electing, we have interim student assembly officers, but we have our conservative student union and the college Democrats that will be working on readying our community for the national and state and local elections. So that's very, very important for our community to remember and to really encourage our students to participate. We will have food services. It's going to be very, very limited. There will only be food served outside, not outside, in the CAF. And all the social distancing protocols will be put in place, and we'll be posting the hours for that. Other news that faculty in particular should be aware of, the bookstore will be closed to walk-ins starting next week. Students should have or can purchase all of their books and materials online and pick them up in the ICE Center. That information should also be on the buzz. The student handbook is online in PDF form. We're not printing copies this year. Please also understand that there are new, very, very strict Title IX regulations. We are in compliance. SUNY has done an amazing job. Joe Storch, if you don't know him, is an amazing higher ed general counsel for us that has provided us with policies, policy templates, and procedure templates so that we really don't have to go through the 3,000 page document with regards to being in compliance for Title IX. And other than that, we welcome, the division welcomes everybody back. And we're very excited for this virtual, socially distanced year. And if you have any questions or need anything from the division, please just let me know.
Thank you, Dr. Ross. And Michael Sullivan has asked Dave Lagaikis to fill us in on facilities. Several things have continued to occur during this time. So, Dave.
Good morning, everyone. I hope you are all safe and well. I'd just like to go over and review a number of the initiatives that we currently have ongoing and some of the projects that you may see going on around campus. I think first and foremost, as everyone up to this point has already mentioned, we've made a significant number of changes and improvements with respect to COVID-19. As you walk through the buildings, you'll see that there's plexiglass installed in many critical areas. Signing is provided, directional arrows on the floors and on the walls. Recently on SUNY Broome Today, we posted a listing of all the changes and improvements that we've made, and one of the more substantial publications is what we put together on the HVAC and air quality summary. And as I said, both of those are on SUNY Broome Today and can be viewed. You know, some of the other minor things, although some people might not think they're so minor, we're going to limit the number of people using restrooms. We're going to limit the number of people using elevators. Anything and everything we can do to ensure a safe campus environment has been and will continue to be done. I recognize that once the students get back on campus, there will probably be a need to continue to tweak some of what we've done and make modifications and or further improvements. But I am sure that both our maintenance staff and our custodial staff will be able to handle any of the changes we need to make. And to be honest, right now, I'd like to issue convey my personal thanks to all of our maintenance and custodial staff, because they have gone above and beyond over the last 3, 4, 5 months since students have not been on campus to make improvements so that we can enjoy a safe upcoming semester. A second major initiative, and Dr. Drum and others have alluded to it, we will be losing a number of staff, both on the maintenance side and the custodial side, to the separation incentive. So we've already started to step back and take a look at how can we reorganize both facilities and the custodial side of the house to be more efficient, to get the job done that we need to get done, perhaps introduce some additional responsibilities to individuals who have not had those responsibilities before. But we will be taking a very hard look at how we operate, who does what, how do we get things done over the coming weeks, so that once that separation agreement once those departures take place, we can continue to provide the services that we need. And one of the other major ongoing initiatives that we have is we're making selected improvements to some of our core buildings. On Old Science, we're in the process of improving the east entrance, repairing the stairs, doing painting. We are reconstructing and reorganizing the finance office, including a new entrance into their parking lot. And the primary reason for that is to introduce additional space in that office, so that we are meeting some of the requirements from social distancing and spacing required per COVID-19 guidelines. We've made some improvements over in the student activities office. We are looking at the possibility of developing a health and wellness center in the old science building. And in fact, we just, one of our staff just completed completed work on a new waiting room in old science for the health services center. One of the major projects that we did accomplish over the summer was we finished encapsulating all of the glazing and caulking on the windows in both old science and student services. So that has been a long time coming. We've serviced as many of the windows as we can. So for the first time in a long, long time, most or many of the windows in both old science and student services are operational. In addition to being able to have the windows function now, we're also going to install rooftop ventilation units at the rooftop hatches that we have, and we're going to replace the older air conditioning units in both buildings. So that will take place over the next week or two. And lastly, with respect to core buildings, we're looking at the relocation of the photography studio to provide more space, to provide a more modern situation and a better situation for that space. So that's a brief summary of what's going on with respect to some of our core buildings. Some of the other major ongoing projects that we have, the Student Center and Deca Roof project, which began toward the end of last summer, has now been completed. The work over in the music department and the primary work here is the creation or construction of a performance room. We're moving the copy center to the backside of campus services, and we're going to use the current copy center space and develop that into a pretty good sized performance room, close to 50 by 50, maybe a little bit smaller than that, but a good sized performance room. That work we anticipate will be done over the next 2 to 3 week period. If you've noticed, the electrical vault outside of the business building was reinforced, and much of the sidewalk work replaced around that vault. For those of you who don't know, we have installed 3 electric vehicle charging stations up in the Ice Center parking lot, and actually that has the capacity or capability to charge 6 vehicles. If you've noticed, we've installed or had installed 3 Broome County Transit bus shelters, and they have solar powered lighting. So that's a big improvement for the students and staff and the public that use BC Transit to access SUNY Broome. And we just took bids for replacement of the AT building transformer. So those are some of the major projects that have been ongoing or are ongoing. And as I've said in the past, we will continue to try to improve the infrastructure on this campus as best we can over the coming years. A few other projects that we have ongoing and or have completed. Both the north and south entrance is to the college out on Route 11 Front Street were upgraded. The pedestrian crossings were improved and drainage was improved at both entrances. The hiking trail rope suspension bridge, which was construction started on that toward the end of last summer, is now complete. We replaced all of the playground equipment over at the BC Center. We just completed or received a study to evaluate the functionality and the location of the Tichenor cooling tower, because that particular piece of equipment is nearing its the end of its useful life and will have to be replaced. We replaced 2 street poles on the Campus Loop Road. We are now purchasing battery operated groundskeeping equipment that we're using both down at the Culinary and Event Center, but we're also using that on campus. And if we can make that transition to all battery powered equipment, we will do so. If you noticed, if you walk between public safety and the AT building, we removed the old guide rail that was in that area, took out the old spirea bushes that were in there, and we've graded it, we've seeded it, but we intend on putting some benches in there along with a chain link fence. Some of these remaining projects, we've put a new motor in the business building cooling tower, a new pump and motor in the Tichenor Hall cooling system, and we continue to replace the exterior campus lighting. So we've been very busy, and as I said, my thanks go out to our staff, my staff in particular. And as I said earlier on, we understand there's going to be a need to tweak some of the changes and/or modifications we've made with respect to COVID-19. But by all means, if there is a suggestion or a need to change something, let me know, let our staff know, let your superiors know, and we will try to make whatever changes we can to improve some of the changes that we've already made. So with that, I will wish everyone a good day, a good school year. Stay safe, stay healthy, and stay distanced. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dave. And now it's Kathy Williams, Executive Director of the BCC Foundation, to speak.
Hi, good morning, everybody. I'd like to say it's good to see you. It's good to see your names. It's good to know that we have nearly 200 people together in a meeting. It's been a long 6 months, and I'm pleased to have the opportunity to connect with you all today to fill you in a little bit on what we have been doing in the foundation since we last met. Our primary role on our campus, for those not aware, is to raise private support through gifts, fundraising activities, and grants to foundations. And for fiscal year that ended June 30th, 2020, we raised just over $1 million. $1,092,633. When we compare that to the year prior, fiscal year end June 19th, we're down about $800,000, just about. Part of that is due to the difference in receiving a one-time estate gift in June of 2019, but also because of COVID, we have a student calling program. We call it our Phone-a-thon, which reaches out to all of our alumni that we have phone numbers for and talks with them and asks them for a gift, an annual gift for our annual fund. And unfortunately, because of COVID, we ended up having to cease the calling of that program early on. So also that's some of the difference in our fundraising for the year. And the good news about the reduced fundraising is that we still were able to maintain our support to campus and provided more than $1 million in student scholarships and grants and aid, which is our priority and under the basis on which the foundation was founded. Pardon me, sorry. And one of the things I just wanted to do here was to let everyone know that we still were able to provide the same amount of support that we have in the past, and in fact have even budgeted to provide more this coming year based on some new gifts that we received. But we couldn't have pulled that whole thing off without the faculty and staff who helped us review applications. We did it all remotely this year. We did not have our large scholarship reception, but we were able to communicate with our donors. Our students wrote some very lovely letters and took photos of themselves. But really, without everybody working together, including our sports service financial offices, to award those scholarships, we really didn't miss a beat. So we're quite happy about that and know that we're going to continue that moving forward. We also support faculty development funding on an ongoing basis. That would be your professional development and teaching grants, and our intent is to continue to fund at the same level, providing we can maintain our finances in that area moving forward, but we have budgeted to either stay at the level from this previous year or increase where appropriate that support. And of course, many of you know that we also provide capital improvements on our campus in kind of an ongoing basis, especially where any funding that we can provide helps to raise matching support from other outside sources. Part of the reason that we have been so successful with our fundraising efforts are because of you all, our faculty and our staff. We run a special campaign every year, and we have very good participation. We're not perfect yet, but we're getting there. And we, this past year, had 150 of our current and retired faculty and staff contribute to the foundation. Either they made unrestricted gifts or they supported particular funds, purposes, or departments or programs. We had nearly $75,000 given by our faculty and staff to the campus this past year, which is great participation, and we thank you for that. And our faculty and staff can make their gifts through payroll deduction or make outright gifts. We had a key initiative that most of you probably know about, and it really, while we had been in discussions of creating this student emergency fund for our students, COVID really escalated that. And so SUNY and the SUNY Impact Foundation came out with an initiative that said that if the SUNY campuses could raise a minimum of $50,000, they would get that matched dollar for dollar. So I'm happy to say that we were able to qualify for the full 50, and then another almost $5,000 in SUNY Impact Match. That money will be available for students who apply for up to $500 for a one-time grant to meet basic emergency needs, any food, shelter, clothing, medicine, utilities, backup childcare, transportation. The support isn't really intended for educational expenses like tuition and fees, but the hope is that these grants will help our students to meet whatever those needs are so they don't jeopardize their ability to stay enrolled in school. And ultimately, we can support their success. I'd like to thank the 41 faculty and staff members who contributed to the Student Emergency Fund, especially those that, gave more than once in the 2-month period, perhaps because they knew students that were suffering financially and either they themselves had lost their jobs or their parent, if they were a younger student, and the households were suffering. So I just want to say thank you to everybody about that. We will be doing more with that. I have just a couple other things, and one of those is that for those of you who are alumni of SUNY Broome, you'll note that we unfortunately had to cancel all of our events, our reunion, our summer Rumble Ponies game, and we've just recently canceled the Tioga Downs event. And it's unfortunate, but as you know, in this current environment, there's no other choice right now. But we are working on some virtual events, and we hope you'll join us. And as always, our faculty and staff are invited to attend our alumni events too. And I just wanted to say thank you to all those people who've been working behind the scenes. And, I know there's some of you, I've seen Dave Lagaikis on campus, and you know what, even though, many of us have successfully adapted to remote work and really didn't skip a beat. There have been folks who've been on campus around the clock, or folks in our financial aid, student support, everything. I don't want to leave anyone out, but I just want to thank you and let you know that we at the Foundation Alumni Office miss everybody, and we look forward to the day sometime, hopefully sooner rather than later, that we can get back together. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, Kathy. We thought it would be important to be able to answer a lot of questions, because I know all summer long, we've been back and forth, and as Kathy mentioned, specifically Dave Lagaikis and Joe, and I know there's many others, but I have thrown questions at them daily about, what about this, and what about this, and can you move this, and can you move this? So it's been a summer of a lot of moves, and to make sure that we can accommodate the students the way we would like to, or the best way we can. So I've asked all the staff to be on the panel to join me. Of course, Dr. Drum, Dr. Carol Scott, Dave Lagaikis, and Chief Joe O'Connor are here with me to really primarily answer questions that you may have regarding the return to campus, what it's going to look like. Joe, would you like to just kind of give a real brief update on everything?
Penny, there's something going on with your audio. It's very scratchy.
Yeah,
I'm not sure what's going on.
Get started, Joe.
She's reaching out to you, Joe. I don't know. Is everybody experiencing her audio issues? Because I haven't had the audio issues with anybody else.
I thought I heard her here say start, so I can jump right in. First and foremost, I want to welcome everybody back in these unusual times and share with you that there's been a lot of work that has been going on. You've already heard some of it from what Dave has described, but we've done quite a bit to be able to come back and have you here safely if you need to be on campus. A little bit of background on that is that we have an emergency management team, and that emergency management team was put together based on the requirements of the National Incident Management System, and it's comprised of an incident commander, a planning chief, a logistics chief, operations chief, finance chief, and then we have safety and public information. Those chiefs would then put together a team underneath them in the different areas on campus that they needed to execute what needed to be done for this particular emergency, but that system is in place for any emergency. I want to extend a thank you to everyone that's on that team, and rather than try to name names, because there's not only just the chiefs that are involved in that, but all of the individuals who had worked with them to accomplish all that we did. And just want to put out that thank you to everyone who has been working on that. Just to highlight a couple of things that we have done and set the stage for the question and answer. One of the major accomplishments is the overall plan that we put together that describes a lot of the actions, the protocols that we need to follow to come back safely. And there's been so many iterations of that. We keep getting changes presented to us by the state, by SUNY, by the county, and we have met all of those challenges. And I can say that our plan has been accepted by SUNY, by the state, and by the county. So we do have that going forward. Secondly, we put together a training for all of you coming back so that if you're going to be on campus, the video describes what you can expect and what we'd like to see from you in helping us to ensure that we're able to stay open and stay safe here on campus, because it's going to take an effort from everyone. And then obviously can't go without really thanking Dave and his team on both from a facilities perspective, as well as Dave was actually our logistics chief on the emergency management team and couldn't have functioned without him. So again, not taking anything away from the other members, but it's quite obvious all the work that Dave and his team have done. So with that, just kind of open it up and I see if you have any questions on the plan, on the physical changes, on the training that we've provided for this. So, your questions.
Justine, we're going to have them use the raise their hand feature in the.
If everybody could use the Q&A box that you see on the screen, type in your questions there, and then Danny and Maureen will ask them to the panelists.
First question, can you hear me okay? First question, will there be any place on campus for students to attend an online class using their own laptop or tablet? As an example, when a student has a 10 a.m. in-person class and an 11 a.m. live virtual remote class.
I can answer that if you can hear me. Is my sound any better?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Yes, we have identified. Thank you. We have identified several places on campus, and we will have that up on the web for students to refer to. The library, for example, has 4 private rooms. We've also identified the computer labs in the basement of the business building. They will be identified as quiet rooms for people to do their streaming courses or any kind of streaming that they will need. And we will play it by ear. If we need more spaces, we will. Marty sent me a list yesterday of, I believe, 5 classrooms that we're going to post also that will be available for students to go in for private work to do that.
Thank you. The next question, we've got a welcome back, and the person is wondering where the copy center will be located. Will its floor space be reduced?
The copy center will be toward the back end of the campus services building. We had 2 rooms right behind the copy center. One was a storage room, which will be continue to be used as a storage room, and then the copy center will be placed in what was a back storage area as well. So it's going to be in the same building. The access will be different. You will access via the sidewalk to the left of the building, and it will have a separate entrance with a canopy and an area inside where you can either pick up or drop off your copying needs.
Thank you. Where can faculty refer students who have computer issues not related to Blackboard?
We have Maureen and Leslie Reed have set up a Tech Talk, and we posted that on the web where they will be able to answer questions, particularly for students who are unable to get into may not be able to get into their courses, don't know how to get into the courses, and that information is all up on the web with a schedule when they will be available.
Thank you so much, Dr. Haynes. And I'd like to jump in. Leslie and I are very excited for those sessions. And another really great resource, if it's a simple email question, is our help desk. And I've been able to refer some students there who just need some more troubleshooting type questions as well too. So if any faculty get emails, that's another great resource that we've been able to leverage. But really looking forward to helping students through those Tech Talk drop-in hours. And our next question is, what buildings are going to be open and which will remain closed?
I can take that one. We're going to be opening all of the buildings. We are looking at the student services building right now and managing the capacity in that building and looking at some other questions that have been raised. But that should be open by mid-September.
Okay, thank you. Would there be a place for students to sit, eat, and take a break? For example, in between long lab days, etc. We are not allowing the students to eat in labs. Thanks, and the focus is on the Decker building.
Joey.
I would encourage them to eat outside, out of the buildings. That's going to be the safest place, and particularly the Decker building because of the types of activities that are going on in there, and that being a health science program. So we would encourage them. We do have the cafeteria open, so they're able to go up there to eat.
Thank you. The next question is, if a student or faculty member needs a COVID-19 test, is there a resource on campus to provide this?
We don't have the resources to do individual tests. The program that we have for the students, as Dr. Drum described, was with the support of Binghamton University, a lot of their equipment, and a lot of volunteers. Testing typically is done outdoors. It can be done indoors if the appropriate air exchange is available. And as I said, we do have that set up for the student village testing, but on a day-to-day basis, we just don't have the structure or facilities for that, or the personnel to be able to continue with that effort.
The public site is still operating over at the university, isn't it, Joe?
Correct. Well, that's exactly, we have the number for you if you want to go over to the public site, and that's cost-free as well.
Thank you. And there was a clarifying question coming through regarding the support for students. The question was if students have computer viruses. And I do apologize because the question also had indicated about the help desk. When I mentioned the help desk, I did mean to say the electronic. So if you email the SUNY Broome help desk email address, I've been able to get some quick responses there. I apologize. But if any of our panelists have additional information regarding students who may need technical support with computer viruses or software issues, that is the question.
At this point, we still are utilizing the help desk, but I can work with Furman. If we think there are additional resources necessary, I'll work with Furman and get back to you.
Thank you so much. So the next question is, the information on the SUNY Broome today states that we are testing with higher MERV rated filters to determine system compatibility. Will the MERV rating of HVAC filters be posted per building?
Yeah, I'll take that, Maureen. Yeah, we're trying to, and we continue to test, but we're trying to ensure that we have the highest rated MERV filter in all the buildings that we can. I think where this becomes problematic, and it's a point of information that gets lost in the shuffle sometimes, is that depending on the system, we're only going to be able to max out at a certain level of MERV filter without running the risk of either damaging the equipment or not having it perform as efficiently as possible. But we are blessed from my perspective. We have an HVAC technician, Matt Whiteman, who is really an incredible guy. He knows the systems on campus. He knows his stuff, and he and Ted Hisson and others have been working diligently since last February to ensure that across campus we are providing the best ventilated air, the freshest air that we can. One thing I want to point out is if you looked at that summary that we provided on SUNY Broome today, in most of the buildings, we can introduce up to 100% fresh air at times. So we're going to work very closely with the registrar's office and others to determine which buildings and what parts of those buildings have the most people in them at any particular time during the day. And we will work to try to improve or increase the air intake, the fresh air intake in those buildings at those times. So we're going to work very closely with Marty and others to make sure that we continue to provide, as I said, the best air that we can in all the buildings.
So the next question is, will the school be sending anything out to students before the semester starts to remind them to reprint their schedules to verify any room changes and modality changes?
Yes, I did actually follow up with Jesse yesterday, and Jesse and Marty did a communication that I believe was emailed yesterday, and also they sent a text to do just that. And there's also information on the website as well, directing them to refer to the website.
So the next question is, one of the biggest barriers that students had faced during the EOP Summer Advanced Academy was Wi-Fi connectivity issues. Are there any plans in place to assist students with this issue?
I don't know actually that we were aware of Wi-Fi issues, but if we could get those individual issues, we will absolutely address them. We're also right now working on potentially increasing the Wi-Fi to add parking lot accessibility as well. But if there are specific areas where they had Wi-Fi issues, please let us know, and we will address them.
Hey, Penny, I think that question might also pertain to the fact that some students, especially the ones who are still at home and attending remotely, might not have the access to the Wi-Fi. And I remember us sending out hot packets or whatever kind of Wi-Fi connectors we had. Are we still going to do that?
They do still have a limited amount. We don't have a ton of them, but we do have a limited amount, and we're also working, whether that will address it or not, but we're working with SUNY to opt into the EduRoam, which allows students to go to another campus where they may and be able to sign into their Wi-Fi as well. So we're also working with that.
Okay. Once the cold weather arrives and it's not possible to gather outside, how will things change? What is the help desk email? Which I think Maureen, I think Maureen put that in the chat. So the question is about the cold weather and how, and it's not possible to gather outside. How will things change?
I can take the first part of that question. Things won't change unless the guidance changes from the state or CDC. We're continuing to try and discourage gatherings because that's where we're looking at the spread. So when the cold weather comes, if people do want to get together, dress warmly and get together outside. But again, under the current guidance and preventing spread, it's not to have the gatherings.
The next question is, will flu shots be available on campus this fall?
Flu shots will be available on campus in the fall. We will require a pre-screening before anyone comes to the health office for any needs, including the flu shot. I'm also working with local pharmacies to be able to have employees, if they desire, go off-site for that. More to come on that information if I'm able to get that put in place.
How will we limit the number of people in restrooms? Will there be a system in place?
You want to take that, Dave, or you want me to offer some?
Yeah, I got that, Joe. I mean, what we've done is we've the number that's outside the restroom, and in some cases it's 1, in some cases it's 2, and I think maybe in a few cases it's 3. But what we've done is we've evaluated each restroom based upon the size of the restroom, and we're assuming, and maybe that's a big if, but we're assuming that people will follow those directives, number one, and when they're inside the restroom, will socially distance as well. So, you know, we've reviewed all the restrooms with public safety, the size of the restrooms, and cooperatively come up with a number that we feel comfortable with. But no, there won't be anyone monitoring the restrooms. But, you know, we trust that people will want to stay safe, and we'll do as advised. So,
if a student or faculty member responds with a yes to the daily screen, what is the process for being able to return to campus?
That information is then turned over to Human Resources, because the way that the screening or questionnaire is structured is to be able to ask the questions so that it is COVID in general and not necessarily a medical inquiry of the individual, because we're using a universal yes or no to things like, have you traveled to a restricted state? Once we turn that information over to Human Resources, they will work with that individual to determine the reason for the yes or for the keeping them from campus and determine next steps from there. But certainly if an employee or a student has symptoms, the first directive is for them to reach out to their medical provider for guidance. Because if the restriction is based on that, then the guidance about coming back to campus is going to be through that medical provider and through the county health department. Similarly, if the answer is in response to the restricted state, then the state has the specific guidelines of how much time you need to quarantine.
Thank you. The next question is, how will students know how and where to access their synchronous classes on the first day of class? Are instructors sending out links ahead of time?
What we have sent out to students, and we have also sent to faculty, is that they will either, one of two things, they'll either get an email from their instructor, or the instructor has a Blackboard shell, and we send out instructions how to do that they can upload their Zoom, if it's a Zoom link, they can upload their Zoom link into Blackboard. Students have been sent that information as well to check their schedule, to both check Blackboard and check their email. If they don't get something, that's precisely why we have the Tech Talk, and Maureen and Leslie and will be there also to assist them if there's an issue.
Joe, did you want to finish perhaps what you were saying in the last response?
I think I finished it.
Okay, thank you.
If they need more, they certainly can contact me.
Okay. If the custodial staff should become infected, what's the backup plan for cleaning?
Dave, I don't.
Yeah, no, I'm here. What we would do is we would modify our needs to make sure that the appropriate cleaning is taking place.
Okay, we have a question. It's not exactly COVID or reopening, but it says, how are we doing with enrollment numbers? A couple of days ago, we were down 11 to 12%.
Yeah, I'll take that. We remain, bouncing around, that number. It's been pretty consistent for a couple of weeks now, except for one day we ticked up nicely. I mean, we were still down, but we nevertheless, for a couple of days there, we had a nice influx. But it settled back down to where we've been for a few weeks now. So it's not terrible. We budgeted to be 9.5% down, so it's not too far off. It does add to the challenge, as it does in any year, whether it's COVID or not. The issue is, we're down about 5.5 million in subsidies, so this will add a little bit to that. Made up a couple of million of that with the CARES Act funding. We'll make up another portion of that, with the separation incentive, though not all of it in the first year because of the incentive itself. So it does add a bit to the challenge, but right now it's not real bad, and we're roughly running around what the best numbers are we've seen across the state. We'll see how it goes once we get into mid-September and know where we've landed and everybody else, but it's stayed pretty consistent.
Thank you. The next question is for Dave. This is a follow-up to the earlier questions. They're wondering about, will there be postings about the static air quality and replacement in specific rooms and buildings? Will that information be made available?
We will provide the best information that we can. As I said, if you reference Matt's summary on HVAC and air quality that's on SUNY Broom today, it's pretty explicit, pretty detailed. But we'll have some additional conversations about being able to post in certain areas. Sure.
How will people know how many people are already in a restroom? Without knowing, even the most conscientious person cannot reasonably comply.
Let me start with that, and then if someone else wants to chime in with more detail, that's fine. Back to the comment I made in my opening remarks, and comment I made to the residence life staff earlier this week. We're all going to have to be mindful of what's going on around us in this environment, at least for this coming academic year and probably further. This is part of the tightrope we're walking. As I put in one of my updates, the platform on the other side of this tightrope is nowhere in sight at the moment. Maybe this winter we'll have an effective vaccine and we'll begin to see the platform at the other end of the tightrope. But you walk into a restroom and there's two people there, walk out and wait. That's what we're going to have to do. I mean, there's going to be a whole lot of civic engagement, both here and in the community, that we're going to have to learn to get through this as safely as possible. And that's one of those things. I walked into the men's room here in Wales the other day. There was one person, at the men's urinal. I looked to check as best I could to see that there was no one in the stalls. And I remained. If I had seen there was someone else in there, I would have walked out and waited. And I don't know how else we're going to be able to do it without putting cameras in the restrooms. I suppose you could put a flip thing on the door, but then people are going to forget that, to do that. So it's going to be self-monitoring. So much of this is going to be self-monitoring and encouraging others to do the same when we see probably what will 99% of the time be an inadvertent breach. If anybody else has any thoughts on that, please chime in.
The only other thing I want to add, Dr. Drum, is that we have been and will continually be in the process with respect to wet restrooms to make sure that the exhaust fans are operating the way they should. As with the elevators, the same issue there. So we will be monitoring those on a regular basis to ensure that air is being exchanged.
Thank you. The next question, a student asked someone about an app they were told to download. The app was Campus Clear, they believe. They didn't know anything about this and they thought they couldn't answer the student's question. Do any of our panelists know anything about an app, Campus Clear?
Yes, we're encouraging our students to do the daily screening, just as we have asked the employees to do the daily screening. The students can do it on the Campus Clear, which again asks the same questions, and we hope that they do use it and we can reach out and assist them if we have anyone that answers yes to any of the screening questions.
What markers would trigger a shutdown of on-campus activities?
We were looking at a 5%, and we're looking at pooled testing. We're working with SUNY. They've got a program that we'd like to use. There's a lot more details to it, and we're just trying to move forward with that as best we can.
Thank you. The next question is, if the daily screening says don't go, would that generate a flag to the student, staff, or faculty's department? Or is it an honor system for going or not going?
That flag comes directly to an email, as I mentioned earlier, that we share with Human Resources. We reach out to that individual. So it's not an honor system, other than it's an honor as far as we hope people are being honest in using the daily screening and answering the questions honestly.
Are we going to open more sections of classes to help enrollment?
We've opened a few as much as we possibly can. We have added some seats, but we also have a pretty good selection, I think a very good selection of the later start classes. So if with a day and a half to go, if there aren't seats, hopefully there are still some seats. We also have late start sections available.
Thank you. The next question is there a way to opt out of having custodial staff enter our offices to empty trash receptacles during this time?
You're muted, Dave.
Yeah, I'm here. We could certainly look at that. What we'd have to do is then identify a location, a common location that we could utilize as a pickup point. But if that becomes an issue and or a problem, please let us know and we will try to modify the custodial schedules as we can.
Yeah, that reminds me of a recessionary time I went through at one institution. I can't remember which one, and we had to downsize staff pretty significantly. And we were all asked to put our buckets outside in the hallway or outside in the common area each night. To be emptied that way rather than they're having to come into our offices. So, a process like that, to look at a process like that, we got to get in the habit again, like so many other habits, but it may be something to consider seriously.
Okay, this question is going back to a previous question. It says, is that 5% of the entire population or 5% of on-campus population? 300 cases is 5% of 6,000. To get to 300 is a really long road before closing. It will be better if we had a solid number and not a percent, since we don't know how that's calculated.
Yeah, it's hard to use that. We're relying on that 5% based on state guidelines. So that's not a hard and fast number. We've had discussions about other variables that may impact closing, and as pointed out in the follow-up question, there may be reasons to close earlier than that. But those variables are, again, hard to address in a simple question like this today. So we'd have to take it as it comes and look at what the current environment is. So the 5% is simply a state guidance, and it would be the campus population. But again, I just want to reiterate that that is a state guideline or number. It's not the final word on when we would close. The Executive Council, Dr. Drum, would be critical in helping us to evaluate the current environment and going by whatever guidance we get from county and others.
There's a similar follow-up. I think you've addressed most of it, but I'll just read the second part of the question. It says, is the plan to shut down buildings or all of campus at that point? This is on the same topic about asking about the 5%.
That would be based on the nature of the infection and where the spread was and where we're getting the numbers from. So again, there's so many variables to look at before a decision is made. It's hard to answer here and now.
Thank you. The next question is, anything being done with call forwarding? So people who call a campus number can be forwarded to someone who is working from home.
I can take some of that. I mean, that has been done most of the summer with the remote staff having numbers that, no, I don't remember what it's called, but Verizon One Talk, something like that perhaps. But anyway, they called the college number and it goes to their cell phone number, and it appears as a college number. So yes, and I'm probably not explaining that well, so I probably need a technical person to explain it better. But in short, the answer is yes.
There are two systems being encouraged for campus daily screening, Campus Clear and the college-generated questionnaire advertised earlier. Which one would you prefer to use for both the students and faculty and staff?
That's more of a preference for the students and the faculty staff. We would just use Campus Clear, but we've established a pattern with the online form that the college has, so faculty and staff can use either the Campus Clear or the daily screening that we have in the email. Students, of course, are just familiar with the screening of the Campus Clear, so that would be the preference for them.
There are no more questions in the queue.
Okay. Well, on that note, I suspect probably that as we go along and as the semester begins, there probably will be more questions, which we understand. As I said, every day we have new questions. So if you do have questions, please let us know and we will address them immediately or as soon as we possibly can.
Honey?
Yes.
Excuse me. There is possibly a question or an additional response from Furman regarding I believe the phone.
Okay.
Is that correct? Okay. I don't know if Furman can be unmuted or if he could put an answer in the chat. I don't know. Justine, is that something that could we have Furman, or would it be easier for him to type in a response?
Yeah, I can add him if you just give me 1 second. Maybe if you want to go on to, if there's any other questions while I do that.
I mean, it's also possible if Furman wants to type us up a response and we send out, if either way.
Okay, Furman says he will send out a response. There is an additional question about whether we will be opening more sections to help enrollment.
I think we just answered that, but again, we've gradually opened some. I will admit we're being semi-conservative because there is a day and a half left. But again, we do have a nice selection of the late start courses that are open. In fact, I think they're opening very, very soon, either today or tomorrow or Monday, so that they will be open. Some are already open, so it depends on the demand at this point.
Penny, I'm going to add one thing as well. Back to the custodial services, and after Dr. Drum noted what he did, and I'm sitting here thinking, perhaps we could look at a different system to minimize custodial access into certain areas, which would help us, number one, from a manpower standpoint, but also would perhaps alleviate concerns that faculty and staff has. So we'll look at that starting today right away to see if we're going to need to modify how we do collect trash and do cleaning in some of the more restricted areas. So we'll start to look at that right away.
Okay, so Danny, do we have any other questions, or are we?
There are no more questions.
Okay, well, like I said, I'm sure probably questions will pop up, and we understand that, so don't hesitate to let us know. You know, and like we said, we're all in this together. It's going to be a learning experience for all of us, but I think everyone has really risen to the occasion, and I still believe we're going to have a great semester, very different, but I wish you all the best of luck, and hopefully we'll be back talking very soon. Good luck.